All right, so now that we have the path for recipes, let's go back to our show recipes page. Okay. Now here we want to add a link, right? So let's do this. If current user, and this is right under where we're giving the edit this recipe link, right? So if current user dot admin, then do something. Now what do we want to do? We want to expose a link to delete the recipe, right? So link to delete recipe. Now here we have to pass in the recipe object. So recipe and method delete. Okay, now why are we doing this method delete over here? If you see delete recipes ID, okay, recipe that basically points to the recipes controller destroy action, you have to specify that the method is delete. Otherwise, when you pass in a recipe, it's going to basically expect a get, okay? It won't by default look for a delete. So whenever it is a delete action, you have to specify that you want to basically say that this is a delete action, okay? So method delete, and then I want to add some JavaScript here. Do something like data, and then confirm. You sure? Are you sure? This is basically going to throw a pop-up and ask you to confirm that you want to delete the recipe. Okay. So that's the update we needed to make for the show recipe action. I mean the show recipe page. Okay. But again, we have to handle this, right? And we're going to handle this in the recipes controller. So let's go to the recipes controller. Now remember, we're passing in the recipe object, right? So we're gonna define destroy. And we're gonna do recipe.find. We have the recipe object, so we're just gonna grab the params ID, and then we're going to just destroy it. Okay, and then flash success. I'm going to say recipe deleted, and then redirect to, we're going to send them to the recipes path. Okay. Now this params, we're handling the entire destroy action in one line. We're basically grabbing the ID, so basically grabbing the recipe from the params hash, grabbing the ID from the params hash, finding the recipe with that ID, and then we're destroying it. Okay, and then we're sending a message saying recipe deleted, and then we're redirecting or sending the user back to the recipes path. Okay, but we don't want all users to be able to do this, right? We want only admins to be able to do this. So let's go ahead and add a before action for this. Okay, so we'll add before action, and then admin user. Now this is something we haven't defined yet, so we're gonna have to define this. Admin user only destroy. Okay. Now if you see, in order to get to this, right? We already have a user logged in, because before action require user except show index and like, this is ensuring that a user is already logged in. Okay, and then we're further specifying that the logged in user has to be admin user in order to have the destroy action available to them. Okay, so now let's go ahead and build this method, admin user. And we're going to add it at the bottom in the private section right here. And this is going to be a very simple method. Define admin user. Now what we want to do here is, if the current user is not an admin, then we just want to redirect them, the user, to the recipes page, right? So redirect to recipes path unless current user.admin. Okay, so redirect to recipes path unless current user.admin. So that is all we need to do for the recipes controller. Okay, but there's one last thing we have to do. Right now, we have the ability to delete delete recipes. And we're going to test it out by doing a binding pry here to see the params that are being passed in and the like. But in the recipes model, if you look at recipes model, so wait, I'm in the views, let me pull up models. We see that recipe has many likes, recipe has many recipe styles, and recipe has many recipe ingredients, right? So we have to get rid of the associated likes, the recipe styles, and the recipe ingredients if a recipe is no longer present or has been destroyed or removed or deleted from our database. We don't want the associated likes that belong to that recipe to just linger on in the database without a recipe that it belongs to. Okay, so to remove those, what you need to do is dependent destroy. Okay, and this will make sure that all the likes that belong to that recipe are deleted also. Okay, it's almost like a cascading delete. Okay, so when a recipe is deleted, all of the likes that show up for it will be removed. We'll do the same thing for recipe styles. Now notice how we won't do this for styles, because recipe is connected to styles through the recipe styles table. So all you need to do is remove that line, okay? And that'll ensure that that link to that style doesn't exist anymore. So we'll do dependent destroy here as well. And then recipe ingredients, we'll do dependent destroy. Okay. So that's all we need to basically now test out how this destroy action works. So let's try it out. So I am not an admin user right now, so I don't have any destroy link, right? I'm going to log out, log in as admin. Okay. So now let's see if the link shows up. Okay, perfect. So I see that I have the delete recipe link showing up. Now if you notice at the bottom, this is basically saying recipes 11. So the recipe object I'm going to pass in to the controller is going to basically find this recipe, which is ID 11, and then destroy if I click on it. So let me go ahead and find another one that I want to delete. Let's say I want to delete this recipe. So let me go ahead and do that. So I'll click on it. There's the confirmation. Are you sure? Okay. All right, recipe deleted. Now if I scroll down, I see that that recipe is gone, doesn't exist anymore. Okay. Now I can still go into other recipes and then scroll through, and it hasn't really broken any other functionality in our application. Okay. So that was a simple demonstration of how you can add an admin user and how it can be implemented, right? So we gave our admin user the ability to edit any recipes in our app and also to delete recipes and all associated likes. So you can use this technique to implement permissions to actions throughout web apps, and you can, add other roles like moderator and whatever it is that you would need based on the requirements of the web app that you're working on. Okay, so now let's go ahead and commit our code. So we'll do git status. Okay, we'll do git add -a and then git commit -m within quotes, put in add admin functionality, and then hit return. Okay, now let's push our code to GitHub. Okay, so let's check that out. All right, so that was successful. Now let's push our code to Heroku and add an admin user. So git push Heroku master. Okay, perfect. So the first thing again that we have to do is to run a migration on Heroku because we added the column to our chef's table. So we'll type in Heroku run rake db :migrate. Okay, so it created the column and added it to our chef's table. So now I'll jump into Heroku's Rails console. So Heroku run Rails console. Okay, so I'll grab user equals, let's say, chef.find by email Okay, so there's my user. Now user.admin false. Okay, so we'll use the same method we did in test, which is user dot toggle exclamation mark and then colon admin. Okay. Now let's try the same thing, user.admin. True. Okay, perfect. So now we have an admin user in our app, in our production app in Heroku. Okay, so I'm gonna reload this page. Now this is our Heroku app. This is not, I'm no longer in my development environment. Okay, so let me log in. I'll log in first as a regular user just to make sure that no functionality changed. Okay, so let's go to another user's recipe. Okay, I don't see the edit link, I don't see the delete link. Perfect, so this is working as we expect. But I will go to zone recipe, then I can see the edit this recipe link. That's working, perfect. So now I'll log in as the admin user. Okay, so let's go to this recipe. All right, I see both links showing up. So I'll first edit this recipe. Okay, recipe was updated successfully, edited, perfect. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and delete a recipe. So let me find. Okay, let me just grab this one and then delete this recipe. Okay, I'm getting the confirmation, which is great. That's working. Recipe deleted. If I go to the third page, okay, that recipe no longer exists. Perfect. Now I'm going to delete a recipe of another user now to test that out. So let me go ahead and delete this recipe created by Bob. Okay, so the recipe has disappeared. Perfect. So that concludes what I wanted to cover for the admin user functionality, and it's working both in our development and in our production environment. Okay, great. I will see you in the next lesson.